Hey, BassGeek here, and anytime I take an inexperienced angler out on my boat, this is the #1 rig that I put in their hand. But just cause it's that simple to catch a big bass on, doesn't mean that it's not diverse. You can fish it year round and from shallow to deep with just a few modifications. Oh yeah, geeks, now let me tell you, this is one of my favorite rigs, and there's a very specific part of this rig that I look for when it comes to the ones that I like to put in my boat and use. Years ago, as a matter of fact, on this lake just around the corner, I learned how good this bait can be. I've learned that it can be used as a finesse bait. I learned that it can be used as a power bait. I learned that it can be a reaction bait, or it can be super subtle and get the finickiest of bass to chow down. That's right, geeks, it can be used for power and finesse. It can do so many different things, and if you love swim baits, you've got to love this rig because it just adds so much to it. It's a rig that I used on the ledges for years. I use it with the bigger 5 and 6 inch swim baits out on the ledges because no one else is throwing it out there. It puts off a little vibration. It mimics 2 shad. What else could be better? It shines in finesse situations like right now, this time of year, June, July, August. It's perfect because those new shad fry have hatched and the bass are chasing some teeny tiny shad. So what are we talking about? Let me show you. The underspin. This is one of my very favorite underspins. This is by Dirty Jigs, and this is the tactical bass and underspin. Now, what I mean by go big or go home, this is one of my favorite ways to throw this. This is one of my favorite summer swim baits, and this is by Ramsey Baits. I'll put links in the description, of course, for all this stuff, but there's one key component, if you remember me talking about that I always look for when it comes to my underspins, and it's this little wire arm. This is some heavy gauge wire arm, and I'll put a link in the description talking about a modification to this that allows you an even higher hookup ratio. But right now, let's talk about the Dirty Jigs underspin. What I like about this is you can bend this wire out just a little bit to get it a little straighter. It's one of the tricks, so no matter how big of a belly you've got on your bait, you can keep it away from the belly of your bait. That's a big key to me, especially fishing these. I want this blade turning, not hitting the belly of the blade. So a lot of times I'm going to turn that straight down, and it looks just like 2 little bait fish swimming along together. Now that was a 1/2 ounce. This, on the other hand, is a 1/8 ounce. And it's coupled with one of my favorite summertime swim baits when they're feeding on those new shad fry. And that's the Kitech Easy Shiner. One of my very favorites to couple with this. Right off the bat, you're gonna notice these come in a couple different options. #1, head color. #2, blade color. Now, let me show you some of the ones that they sent me, show you a little bit of the diversity of this underspin in particular. Now, you've already seen the 1/8 ounce, and the 1/8 ounce, they sent me a couple of them. This is Tennessee shad, and it's got a gold blade under it. Now, if I have my heads painted, this is the 1/4 ounce, and this is painted in a gizzard shad. This is the color that I like if I'm getting them painted. I like that gray and that white combination. This, again, is the 1/4 ounce. Next up, this is really my favorite color on the head. It's just naked, and this is a great all-around size. This is 3/8 ounce. Now, I'm pretty sure they have some different hook options as you get up into the bigger sizes, but again, links will be in the description so you can kind of see what they have based on the weights. Now, this is a 1/2 ounce. I think this comes with a 5/0 hook in it, and it's got a blue back, white head. The great thing about these colors is you can match them to a lot of your swim bait colors. Last but not least, the 3/4 ounce, a chunk of a underspin. But let me tell you, something that you need to remember, if you're fishing a particular swim bait on a particular weight, that blade is going to give you a little more lift. So sometimes you need to be able to upsize in weight to stay at the depth and speed you want to retrieve. All right, geeks, let me tell you about BIA insurance. Listen, me and Mike had a really tough day on the water yesterday, so we decided to drown our sorrows, and we decided to have some great barbecue on the way home. Now, the thing of it is, you can't always park where you want to park, especially if you're going to a restaurant that's really good, which this one was. So we had to park about a block down out of the boat, and the truck was out of sight. But that's why I carry BIA insurance. Geeks, go get a quote. All they do is boat insurance. You've heard me talk about this. I mean it. Go get a quote. You won't be sorry. They know the boating industry, and they know what you need better than those companies that just bundle it all together. Now, let's get back at it. So let's talk about the 2 rod and reel combos that I love to use for my underspin. Now, this is an old Lew's BB1 Pro. I will put links in the description for the updated one. And this is a 6-4-1. Geeks, one thing I'm going to recommend to you, stay in that 6'3", that low 6, 6'2", 6'3" speeds when fishing these bigger swim baits and these underspins. And as always, I got my K9 Pro 100. This is 12-pound test. Now, if you're fishing around a lot of laydowns and stuff like that, make sure you upsize. 12 pounds what I go with, helps me keep the bait down deep. Pro 100. Geeks, 10% off. You need to try it. Now, I couple that with a TFO Tactical, which is now the Taction Bass. Again, links will be in the description. And this is a 7'3". I like a long one because I'm ledge fishing. And most of the time, I want to make the longest cast that I can make. A medium heavy, fast action. As you can see, he can handle up to 3/4 ounce. Now, let's talk about the finesse side. All right, so this is the 601, the 7, which is a company that's owned by St. Croix, I think. It's their, it's St. Croix's line of reels. So this is new. We're testing this out. We've been playing with it, and so far, so good. You can see this is the GS series. This is a 3000. 3,300, you know the size. But another reel that doesn't have a anti-reverse on it, and I kind of like my anti-reverse switch. So line is 8-pound test K9, 100% fluorocarbon. The Pro 100 is what you want to look for if you're wanting the 100% fluorocarbon. That's what I like on the spinning reel. Of course, you see I've got a little bit of the pink braid behind it. These are probably my favorite rods right now by TFO by far. I love the aesthetics, I love the feel, I love the look, that gray, and that is the Option Bass. This is a 7-foot medium fast action. Let's go fish this thing. So when you fish these things, it's pretty much the same for the finesse, which looks great underwater, or what I call the power finesse, the big one. We're going to primarily be talking about this though, because during the summertime, this is the way I love to fish it. This works great like around trees, laydowns, over some grass, around docks. It's incredible. Some great places to throw this. But let's talk about how we fish the big boy. So there's a lot of different ways that you can retrieve this. You can burn it, you can slow roll it, you can constant roll, you can stop go. But for me, the most productive way is just a steady as she goes retrieve, a nice slow roll. If you think you're going slow, a lot of times you need to go slower, especially fishing. That goes for even fishing, just a swim bait. I like to keep it deep, I like to keep my rod tip down low, and I like to slow roll it. Again, that's where the slower reel, 6'2" to 6'4", comes into play. I like a longer rod, so I make longer casts. You're gonna make a long cast. What I like to do is watch it take up slack, especially if I'm fishing out on those ledge, and I'll feed it. But watch that line. If it jumps, be ready to reel up the slack and take the hook. Feed it until it hits bottom. I'll either give it a quick rod tip pop or just a couple of turns to get it up off bottom and coming across nice and slow through that school. Setting the hook, You've seen me do it on this channel if you've watched for a long time. If not, go watch those fishing videos in that fishing playlist. You set to the side, you keep your rod tip down. That's a lot of bait and a lot of metal for it to be shaking its head around. You will lose them. Boat hop them into the boat. If your net man ain't ready, as I always say, fish slap him upside the head. If he ain't got that net in there and he ain't ready, you slap him upside the head with that bass. Now with the finesse, do not boat hop unless it's a dink. Go ahead, get down, thumb that sucker. Do not boat hop. Everything else applies. And it really is that simple. Like I said, there's a lot of simple things you can adjust to it based on time of year, paddle tail, straight tail, for more finesse during the winter time, weight, blade color. Again, into this video, I'll share a video that's got a pretty killer modification for your blades. So make sure you go check out Dirty Jigs Underspin. These things are incredible. I really love them. Now, there's a ton of stuff you can do, ton of modifications you can do with an underspin based on season, depth, trailer. So if you want to see one of the modifications I make sure you go check out this video right here. Otherwise, questions, comments in the comment section below. You geeks know I love to talk about fishing with you. Like it if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you ring that bell so you join part of the 100% Watch Squad. It helps the channel, and you geeks rock.